Good evening and welcome everybody to another episode of Goosebumps Podcast Can Be Murdered. I'm your main host, Bumps in the Night, and tonight I'm joined with two of my co-hosts. Tonight I have with me Brandon Sime, aka Deadshock Studios.
Hello.
And with me as well is An Otaku Life for Me, aka Josh.
What's up, y'all? How you doing?
And this one's it's an interesting episode because out of everyone in our group, the only three here are me, Josh, and Brandon. And for those of you who kind of follow us and have known us for a while, we started out years ago doing something very similar on a different defunct podcast that's gone now thanks to some drama. Cough, cough, Canadian trannies, cough, cough. But through all the fire and the controversies, we found ourselves full circle here doing another Goosebumps review with the three of us. So this is the nostalgic episode.
Yeah.
All right, so we are doing an episode review of The Masked Mutant. This is Goosebumps book number 25. I don't know what year it came out, but I do know it's had...
94.
Oh, 94. Hell, shit, I was 1 year old. That's wild. So this is a retrospective, but let's get into it. Let's break it down and talk about how we felt about it. Our book follows our main protagonist, Skipper Matthews. He's a chonky comic book reader who's obsessed with the Masked Mutant. Skipper's on the bus. He's heading to the orthodontist where he meets another character that's important in this story. Her name is Libby. Libby kind of seems interested in Skipper, which, granted, it was a different time in the 90s, but like the nerdy, dorky persona, nerds weren't cool back then. Like, you like comics, you got picked on. That's just how it was.
Yeah. I don't think it was like only the 2000s and 2010s that really like flipped.
I think it was like a slow progress of the nerds inherited the earth by essentially making that stuff cool. Like D&D and comics became cool. So that way the people who bullied them, their kids would get into it, and they had no choice but to deal with that. That's my 2 cents on the matter, but this isn't Back to the Future. So anyway, Libby seems very interested in Skipper, more so than she should be, in my personal opinion. The two chatted up for a while, and Skipper realizes he misses the bus stop to his orthodontist. He gets off the bus at the next available stop, and he spots what looks to be the Masked Mutants' headquarters across an empty lot from the bus stop. Which, one tall, big pink building later. He does not explore it, though, because he's going to be late for the orthodontist, so it takes him a whole freaking week to get back there. And by the time he does go back, the building has vanished. So when he goes home, after being disappointed the building's not there, he picks up the latest copy of The Masked Mutant that was delivered to his doorstep, which, fun fact, I don't know if you guys did this or knew this, but when you were younger, like at least when I was younger, you could get comic books sent to you through the mail.
I know.
Okay, because like, I remember 1 year for my birthday, I think I was 11, somebody got me a subscription to like a year's worth of Incredible Hulk comics, and I was like, okay. And so every freaking month, and a copy of Incredible Hulk would show up. He was in space, beating shit up.
That was the X-Men and Spider-Man and the Flash.
I liked them, but I liked manga more, personally. Anyway, so Skipper goes home, he reads the new copy of The Masked Mutant, and he learns in this copy that the mutant has disguised his headquarters with an invisibility curtain. So then Skipper returns to... So this is the third time on the bus. Like, a lot of the story takes place on the bus. The bus is realistically a vessel to move the plot along.
The bus is like the third character.
I was gonna say, yeah, the bus at this point is an integral character. Like, if I was casting this, the bus would get a credit as an actor.
The bus lore goes kind of crazy.
I hope they reshoot the Goosebumps series as an anthology, and this time I want Chris Rock to be the bus. Hey, Skipper, get on the bus! It's an important character, guys. So anyway, Skipper is now on the bus for the third time, heading back to the mutants' supposed headquarter location, and he bumps into Libby. They're both just on the bus at night. Like, this is some inner city shit for sure, because it's very rare we see kids take public transport in Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's bikes or walkies. Anyway, they get off at the bus. While they're on the bus, Skipper explains his whole crackpot theory to Libby that the mutant's building's still there, it's just invisible. And then he hits his inhaler, because nerd. He doesn't actually do that, sorry. They get off the bus, and he was right about the building. When he gets closer, the building becomes into view for them, and then they walk up to it. Libby doesn't really want to go inside, but she follows him in because she like secretly wants the D. So they enter the building, and then a yellow light scans Skipper. Just big yellow light goes, scans him. From there, they take an elevator from what would seem to be a cape of elevators down to the basement. And then from this point, Skipper gets separated from Libby, and he finds this room with like a bunch of paper and drawings in it. And they're drawings of the mutant. So he's like, oh shit, this must be where they make the comics. This is where they produce them. From there, he reunites with Libby, and they leave. He heads home, and he finds yet another issue of The Masked Mutant waiting for him, which How fast do they turn this shit out? Like, what's the standard turn rate on a comic book, guys?
Once a month or... Well, it depends, because Spider-Man was 3 times a month at one point.
But even so...
When I got my subscription to Spider-Man, I got an issue every month, about 4 times a month.
Mm-hmm. Well, even so, hang on. This is going to be a sponsor break by Dr. Pepper. That's right. Crack a cold one, Dr. Pepper. And we're back. So, even so, granted, so even if they're shooting them out 4 times a month, this guy got 2 new comics back-to-back within 24 hours. Little sus, just saying. Whatever, though.
Yeah.
We can bend reality for plot armor.
I think if I remember it, at least with the episode, wasn't it like a special edition issue, too?
Yeah, I think so.
There was something special about that one. I forgot what it was.
I'll tell you what was special about it.
Episode.
Well, in the book,
In the episode.
he reads it, and the mutant... It shows the galloping gazelle is tied to a chair, and he's like, oh, only that boy can save me. And Skipper's like, huh? And then it shows him in the comic. Like, it shows him sneaking in to the mutants' headquarters, and he's like, oh, I'm that boy. It's me, your boy. So, what do, guys? After reading it, we go back to the mutants' headquarters for a 4th fucking time. Because that's all we do, is just back on Chris Rock's bus, over to the mutants. I'm starting to wonder, the mutants luring children, is he Epstein or P. Diddy in this universe?
I mean, the way he dresses up, I'm feeling Dr. Disrespect. But
Ooh.
that's just me.
Bro, I had no fucking clue that Dr. Disrespect had a fucking character skin in Predator. Had you know that?
That is still the funniest thing to me.
I know, that was like... Fucking, 10 out of 10 fucking hindsight. They couldn't do it again if they wanted to. Fucking amazing.
Oh my god, that is like the worst timing for him, but that is just like perfect.
Yeah, chef's kiss, internet gold. Alright, so Skipper heads back to the headquarters for the 4th time, and he finds the galloping gazelle tied to a chair. He rescues him, and then they decide to look for the mutant together. And then after they find the mutant in the basement, essentially the galloping gazelle decides to run really, really fast, because he's this universe's Flash, I guess, around the mutant, and then the mutant comically just sticks his foot out and trips him because, you know, slapstick humor. And then the mutant turns into a leopard, and he's like, rawr, I'm gonna eat you. And the gazelle's like, ah, fuck no, dog. Fuck this shit, I'm out. And he dips. From there, the mutant confronts Skipper, demanding for him to reveal his superpowers. And as this happens, Libby enters the room holding a toy gun. And then she's like, well, this is a comic book. Let's use comic book logic. And so she fires the toy gun, and this beam hits the mutant and dissolves him. And then, boom, plot twist, Libby changes into the mutant, and she says that the one she killed was actually Molecule Man, which I guess worked for the mutant. So then the mutant reveals that he's been searching new foes, and since Skipper was so knowledgeable, he fit that role perfectly. Which, does that mean the mutant essentially is Deadpool? Because he has the ability to, like, break the 4th wall?
Basically.
Well, he knew about Skipper. Like, I don't know. This is definitely, like, a rabbit hole debate where we could just kind of, like... It's theory of relativity, I guess, when it comes down to it.
Also, I just got to throw my 2 cents in here.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean he's really P. Diddy? Because, I mean, like, bro's watching kids.
Right?
Yeah. Oh.
A little sussy. Get Stephen Hawking in the wheelchair out here. He needs to type out an apology. God,
Can I get the ukulele apology? Come on.
Oh, yeah, the fucking toxic gossip train.
Uh-huh.
Let's make it 10 minutes long and monetize it. Alright,
Anything to get that 10-minute
yeah.
revenue.
That's why most of the other videos I work on for a different channel make sure they're over 10 minutes, even though that channel's no longer monetized. But we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, like I said, the mutant revealed to Skipper that he's looking for new foes, and Skipper's so knowledgeable he decided he'd fit that role perfectly. And he reveals that the yellow light that zapped Skipper was actually a scanner, and now that Skipper is a character in comics. He's a comic book character. So then Skipper's like, okay, well, then I'm the colossal elastic boy, and I can only be defeated by sulfuric acid. And so the mutant's just like scratches his chin and goes, okay. And then he turns into a wave of sulfuric acid, which then he throws himself at Skipper, who Skipper just narrowly avoids because apparently fat kids are very nimble. And then...
Yeah, which...
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say something real quick. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good, bro.
If you're a supervillain, do not pick your number 1 fan of your comic series as your arch nemesis, because he obviously knows your fucking weakness.
Very true. So then Skipper starts to laugh triumphantly, and he's like, ah, ha, ha, you dumb fuck. You can only turn into things, not liquids.
Right?
And then the mutant's like, no, and he's defeated. So the mutant ends up defeating himself through hindsight, because again, it's a kid's book, you know. That was some Captain Underpants level bullshit, by the way. But whatever. So then Skipper heads home. He's all hyped and shit. He won. You know, he's a bad bitch. Gonna celebrate a little chalky cake for him and his sister. He has a sister. She wasn't important, so I didn't mention her before. She does nothing to the plot except for right here. He's cutting the chocolate cake because fat kids love cake. And as he cuts it, he slices his fingy. And instead of bleeding, he leaks ink. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. I personally don't think it's a dark ending. It's a twist ending. Motherfucker just became a superhero. He's the Elastic Boy.
It's definitely a twist ending to me.
I don't know. Drinking with Goosebumps ruled it a dark ending, but to me, the mutant's dead.
I don't know how it's dark.
What's dark about, like, okay, I guess I get, like...
He's not flesh and blood anymore.
But, like, at the same time, it's not even, like, a dark ending. It's just a twist.
Larry becomes a superhero.
Now, I do need to state the obvious here. Granted, it was a fun read, and I did enjoy it, but it was not scary. And granted, as adults, none of these are scary, but even reading this as a kid, I wasn't scared. It was one of those Goosebumps that didn't really fit.
I don't think it's a scary book, but it's still a fun read.
No, definitely. It's just, it was one of those Goosebumps that didn't really fit the bill of being Goosebumps, if you will.
I think this is just my tinfoil hat theory.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of like, maybe Stein wrote this one and was just like, you know what, I want to take a break from, like, you know, trying to, like, scare kids. Just make this one more of, like, a kind of action-oriented one, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe some kid will find it scary or something, I don't know.
I don't know. I think, honestly, it was just, at this point, he was churning them. So he was like, oh, I can write this real quick. And or maybe it was ghostwritten. It doesn't feel ghostwritten, but whatever the case may be, I'm going to complain about a couple other books like this that don't really feel Goosebumps-esque. The biggest one I can think of at the moment is How I Learned to Fly. But I like this one, unlike How I Learned to Fly.
That one actually has been proven to be a ghostwriting.
And not that it was scary, I just enjoyed this one. That makes sense. Let's rate it, then talk about the episode. Start with Brandon. What would you rate this?
I would rate this, honestly, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Okay, that's fair. That's a good one.
Upon rereading it, like, I'm a comic book fan, so, like, I always loved this book as a kid, but now that I'm an adult, I found, like, just, I guess, more of a charm about it, just for the fact that it's like, wow, this really is just, like, a comic book. It was just one of my favorites as a kid because of that, and now it's like, oh, yeah, I can understand why Zach thinks this is, you know, his favorite book. You know, I can understand that.
I'm honestly surprised we didn't get its own, like, spin-off of the Masked Mutant, like, it had its own series. Like, I feel like there was potential there. Really try
that would be cool if we got that.
They want to encapsulate boys who are growing up with Goosebumps, and you want to capture that teen boy vibe. Masked Mutant would have been go-to.
I mean, at least we got a video game out of it, and that was pretty interesting.
True. I've never played it or watched it, so I don't really have much to say on that. Josh, what would you rate this book?
An 8, and this is because going back to me being a comic fan, and the idea that a villain who, again, has been spying on Skipper for a while, knows that he's, like, a big fan of his comic series, okay? And then chooses to make this kid his arch nemesis. Well, do you really think that's all a smart plan when your arch nemesis, who's also your fan, knows your freaking weakness? That's my drawback against why it's an 8 for me. It's still a good story, and I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, guys. I think I'm going to give this one... screw it. I'm going to give it an 8. I was going to give 7.5, but 8's fine. So 24.5 divided by 3. Yeah, so this score is at 8.1. We're just going to round that down. So across the board, this B-tier book, like I said, wasn't scary. Definitely fun read. Let's move on to the episode. There's a lot more positive things to say about the episode than negative. The only thing I'm going to say that's critical-wise of it is that I don't like that it was 2 episodes.
Yeah,
and
I didn't get why it needed to be a 2-parter.
The reason I don't like episodes like this being 2-parters is because it takes away from the chances of us seeing other books adapted. That's what bugs me. Like, I'm just saying, you could have cut out some bullshit, cut out 3 of those bus trips, 1 or 2 of them. They already changed the story for the episode as is, but they could have made it a 1-parter. They really could have.
They could have.
But we got 2, and that's okay. I would prefer both of these. I would rather have both of these in just 1 episode of Ghost Next Door, but that's personal, just hating. So, kind of same shit. Starts out, he's on the bus, he meets Libby, he's heading off to an orthodontist appointment. This time they both get off the bus, right off the rip, and they see the mutant's headquarters. He approaches it, she follows, he gets the old scan, and then they go down the very Killer Clowns from Outer Space looking elevator, which there's most of the... I think, honestly, most of the budget for Season 2 went into this episode between Adam West and between the set and the suits. I think that's where all the budget went, personally.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he goes down, he gets separated from Libby, surprise, surprise. He finds a room with a bunch of, like, League of Good Guy drawings, mutant drawings, and then drawings of him. And then he's like, oh, this must be where they make the comics. Oh, my God. And then Libby bumps back into him, and she's like, oh, we got a GTFO. Which, fun fact, that cardboard cutout of the mutant from this episode was actually left at the factory that they shot this at, and somebody found it a couple years back while like urban exploring before it got destroyed.
Really?
Yes, it surfaced on Reddit. But they didn't take it. They just posted pictures of it. They left it there, and I'm fairly certain it was destroyed by the elements when they tore down the building because it was like an abandoned brewery. But it's fucking cool that it just survived there for years on its own.
That's crazy.
I would have taken the fucking cardboard cutout.
Oh, 100%, dude. Samesies.
I always loved how, like, just cheap, like how that cardboard was. Like, it just looked so stupid to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought that scene looked so stupid.
I enjoyed the set, though. It gave me, like, Pee-wee's Playhouse and out-of-the-box vibes.
Yeah, the set was great. Just the whole cardboard scene was kind of stupid to me.
Yeah, I wonder how much they wasted on that, honestly. They leave the factory or the whatever the fuck they're in. The mutants' headquarters, that's it. So they leave. Skipper goes home. He gets the comic, and he's like, what? And he sees, like, the whole, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm the Galloping Gazelle. So Skipper's like, oh, fuck, I better go help. So then Skipper heads back, and at this point...
Oh.
Go ahead.
Actually, one thing, I'm assuming both of you have noticed this, but on the school bus it says, get Goosebumps on the side of the bus.
I did not catch that. I'll have to go back and rewatch that.
There's, and then I think on the other side of the bus it said, like, 2 thumbs up, and it was the, stay out of the basement thumb.
I love that. I love when there's, like, I love when they self-promote within the series. I love when they use props, like, in Go Eat Worms when you see the haunted mask on the wall. That's just, like, A1. I love that shit. So, that's always fantastic to me. If we're talking about little catches there, did you notice on the bus when he was reading his first Mass Mutant comic, it was actually a copy of The Punisher?
Yup, I was just about to say that one,
yeah.
too. And actually, fun fact, I own the exact issue that Punisher one was, because I specifically looked for that cover.
Nice. He goes home, he reads his comics, sees that he's needed by the Galloping Gazelle, so he heads back, late at night by himself on the city bus, which, that's the scariest part of this, honestly. He's riding a bus by himself at night in this inner city. Anyway, he goes back, he goes inside by himself this time, and he finds Adam West, which, I love that. I'm sad he's dead, but I love that they got him to play that part.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Before he was the mayor and Family Guy and the Catman and Fairly Odd Parents. But,
yeah, oh wow. Man, you dug a deep cut on that one. Wow, I forgot about that.
That's where I know Adam West from growing up. He was always Catman. Anyway,
yeah.
He heads back, he saves the Gazelle. Turns out the chair the Gazelle was in was the mutant. They kind of have a scrap. Same thing happens. The mutant trips the Gazelle and then makes him feel dumb, so he leaves comically. And then the mutant, gets all creepy.
Away like a bitch.
Yeah, the mutant gets all creepy behind Skipper, and he's like, hey, if you don't tell me what your weakness is, I'm gonna rub this lotion all over you. And Skipper's like, oh, fuck, I'm allergic to acid, don't touch me. And then the mutant defeats himself, and he's like, I'm fat and a nerd, and I beat you at your own game. And the mutant's like, curse you, fuck boy.
Yeah.
So, the mutant defeats himself because of hindsight. Skipper goes home, and instead of cutting himself with a knife...
Just was like, his mom is like, hey, Skipper, why do you have this blue and black ink on your hands?
But if you look at the shot, like his hand, like it looks like they put his palm out and just colored with a Sharpie different patterns. But
yeah.
She tries to wash his hand, but he gets up and walks away because he's elastic. And then it cuts back to him, and he's got a mask, and he's like, stretching! And it's like, oh, you fucking cringe episode ending.
Yeah, that was bad.
Again, it's cheese. It aged like milk, but it's still a fun fucking watch, honestly.
Honestly, it was one of my favorite episodes as a kid.
It's enjoyable. I don't hate this one. It's somewhere in the middle grade for me. It's not my top fucking 5, but definitely a good one. So, let's rate this, and then we'll talk about one other thing I know you guys have watched or read, and we'll go from there. So, starting with Brandon, what would you rate this episode?
I'll give it an 8.
Okay. Josh?
8.
Well, that's an easy one. I think it's an 8 as well, so 8 across the board. B tier for sure. Like I said, good book, good episode, decent adaptation. Can't show violence, but they did the best they could with what they had. Love that. Plus, #Adam West. So, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with, but like you guys mentioned earlier, an old former podcast member of ours from a different defunct podcast, which is on the way of being revived. If you haven't already checked it out, go check out the Horror Burrito. Yeah, it's a self-plug, deal with it. The Redux is coming soon, I promise. Anyway, Zach wrote a sequel to this called The Return of the Mutant. When he was like transitioning outside of Goosebumps stuff and he was starting to do horror stories, he did a couple of like fan-made R.L. Stine stories, and one of them was The Return of the Mutant, and actually it was a pretty decent read. Did you guys read that one? Or listen to it?
I remember listening to it. It was okay, yeah.
Like, I'm not sitting here plugging it being like, oh, it's so fucking good, go watch it. I think I write better Goosebumps like fanfic, personally. But I take forever to turn them out, and God knows when I'm going to get to that character. So, if you're looking for a little taste of something extra, you know, you enjoyed this story, you want a little more of it, go check out Return of the Mutant from Campfire Tales on YouTube. I'll put the copy of the description down below.
Can't you send a bunch of them? Because I actually wanted to listen to, like, the Haunted Mask one, and the thing he did in I Lone Dummy or something.
I know we were both in a couple of them. I think all of us were in a couple of them. Like, I know for a fact I was in the Horrorland one, and I'm fairly certain I was also in the Return to Camp Nightmare, because secretly he's in love with me. Thank God he doesn't listen to these. Anyway, let's go into closing statements, starting with Brandon.
It was a fun reread. I enjoyed this one as a kid, and I still enjoy it as an adult. Yeah, I just really enjoyed going back to this one.
All right. Josh?
Good book, good read. If you're bored on a Thursday, read it.
There you go. And all I got to say is this. It's pretty damn stretching. All right. Thank you, as always, for tuning into another episode of Goosebumps Podcast Can Be Murdered. Why don't you join us next episode where we break down either it's going to be Give Yourself Goosebumps number 11, Escape from the Jungle of Doom, or Goosebumps number 26, which is... My Harriest Adventure. Yeah, so...
Yeah, and then we'll do Terror Towers.
Are we looking at My Harriest Adventure, or you guys want to do another Give Yourself?
My Harriest Adventure.
So then join us next episode for a review of My Harriest Adventure. Thanks for watching, and we'll stab you in the next one.